That's reminiscent of trombone lessons with the great Ian McDougall. Curse words interrupted by some trombone playing. Listen, you'll hear it going left and right on you. Things like this. Secret to that is do it early in the session when your chops are still fresh.
Bonin. Got to pay the rent.
Oh, because that's what you do with Bonin, right? You pay the rent. Well, I pay the mortgage, but you get busy living or you get busy dying. And that's what this song's about. That's really what it is. It's more profound than just the, pretty ham-fisted innuendo that's in here. Hi, everyone. So absolutely overjoyed at the tremendously positive response to my new single that was released last week called Bonin. It was a ton of fun to put together. I'm just thrilled that people are loving it so much. And as a little bit of a thank you, I figured today I would go through a little bit my mix and my process in putting together this song. So you all have a bit of a window into where a project like this starts, how I go about creating music, and just to sort of share a little bit of my process with you, creative process. And if you like if you like the tune, if you like this little behind the scenes view of the creative process, make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Much more coming soon. Let's get into it here. So Bonin, where did it start? Well, honestly, it did not start with any kind of a lyric. It didn't start with an idea of what a song was about. It just started with some jamming, some improvisation. I think a lot of my creativity stems from some sort of improvisation. And in particular, it comes from bass lines, right? So a great bass line is amazing because it will reflect all aspects of the tune, or it will contain all aspects of the tune. It'll support the melody, it'll support the harmony, it'll support the rhythm, the groove, support the lyrics too. But sometimes you can take a good bass line, whether that's very complex bass line or very simple, and you can extrapolate that. You can grow from the bass line into an entire tune. And that's kind of what I did here. I had my fretless bass and was just jamming out some very, very simple sort of funky lines. I'm not a super shredder bassist, so I just wanted to, focus on feel a little bit. So I had a drum loop, and this is not a drum loop right now. This is, you're going to see some highly produced drums, but the drum loop was just one of these Logic drum loops, maybe this throwback funk beat or something like that, at about 120 BPM. And I just started improvising some sort of funky stuff in F on the bass. So we've got this loop here. And that's got the fills in it. Again, this was totally different than the original loop. I did probably most of the production work, the most time consuming thing was probably literally programming every note of this drum beat and every fill. Okay, so let's start with the bass. This is like a slap bass kind of thing. This is done on a Nordstrand, a Cininix, short scale bass this is my primary gigging instrument. I love it. Nordstrand did not pay me to say that. There's no sponsorship involved. It sounds great. I think I've got a little bit of a mid-notch in there, bumping the highs and the lows to get this kind of like scooped mids, slap bass kind of sound. Originally, it was just fingerstyle on fretless, but when I revamped this near the end of the process, I decided to go with slap bass. And you can see it's been chopped up all over the place. I kind of played something and then edited it and changed it around. So here's adding the bass. So we got some funky bass there, which is great. I added this car chase, chase scene wah guitar, which is again one of these loops built into Logic. And I was kind of thinking at this point, the vibe I was getting was a little bit Isaac Hayes' theme from Shaft, 1970s kind of cop thriller thing. So I added the sample and I was going to get a session player to overdub this eventually, but it's so deep in the mix and I like the sound of the sample so much, I didn't end up doing that. And as you can see, the cool thing about this is it's actually panning hard left and hard right throughout. So have a listen. You'll hear it going left and right on you. So you can hear it's just really filling out the mix by going left and right, creating a sense of space and drama. The organ part was actually the last thing I added. So I'm going to talk about that later. Let's get into some of the trombone stuff here. Let's show off trombone 1. So once I had a drum beat and a slap bass, or sorry, a bass line kind of thing in this wah guitar, I was like, well, let's throw some trombone on top of it. I happen to have a trombone on me, and have a quick listen. All right, cool. Right, so we've got this trombone 1 line, kind of doing these semitone below approaches to chord tones and things like that to make it a little bluesy. Pretty straightforward. This sort of thing sounds great in a section, so as I often do when I'm playing around in my DAW, I will start harmonizing underneath it with trombone 2 and trombone 3. And you notice the trombone 3 will have this like moving inner part because there's nothing else happening harmonically in there. There's lots of space, and I like to fill that space sometimes with some motion. So have a listen. Yeah, so something like that, it didn't come out instantly. You can see there were a few takes, and when I improvise, I'll often play like 90% of the stuff I play, I don't end up keeping. 10%, just those little pearls of wisdom usually make their way into the track. Throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. So at that point, I had these lines, but I had a lot of space. So I decided to throw in some sort of soloistic fills, things like this. Okay, cool, right? Hey, listen, if you can do that, you might as well do it on a recording, right? Secret to that is do it early in the session when your chops are still fresh. That's how it works. There's a lot of stuff I recorded earlier in this part too, like different versions of this that ended up kind of in the outro. You'll hear the outro is pretty much a very similar thing, but with different fills. My favorite part of that is the spit valve pop that you hear in the trombone 3 part, panned over on the right. Shout out in the comments if you can hear that. Okay, so I've got this, and there's still lots of space in the mix. I brought over from another project. I had these nice pedal Fs from another project I did for another artist. So I there were still some holes in the arrangement, so I decided to let's fill those out. Things like this. And then just a little transitional section there. Wow, 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 with that chromatic scale underneath it. And the really high notes too, right? This stuff. Yeah, again, if you can do that, you might as well do it on a record. Sorry. Record, YouTube video. Anybody still collect vinyl? I do. All right. So we got this trombone stuff, and now we got to this point. I had a nice intro, kind of a groove going on. I'm like, I need some vocals, right? I love to sing. I was a singer before I was a trombone player. I don't get to do it enough these days, so why not? What should we sing about? Maybe we should sing about, what do I know? What do I know? Being a hard hustling freelance trombone player for the past 20 years. I think somebody called me while I was recording this, and somebody mentioned the word like trombonin or bonin. I was like, oh, bonin. Yeah, that's a good name for a song. Let's do some like bluesy bonin.
Bonin. Got to pay the rent.
Oh, because that's what you do with bonin, right? You pay the rent. Well, I pay the mortgage, but let's keep going.
Bonin
Yeah, moaning. What does that get you? Moaning doesn't do anything.
doesn't pay a cent.
Damn right. And we'll talk about that later. Yeah, this is really like, this is coming out of experiences like, during that COVID pandemic when, the whole music business basically shut down. I kind of had to, I'm a believer in looking at the opportunity in every situation, no matter how terrible it is. So I saw that as, yeah, this is a bad situation, but listen, I've got lots of time and space to be creative, to practice, to further my craft. Hustled really, really hard and came out of the pandemic in pretty good shape. Um, but moaning at the time, I could have moaned. I could have just sat around and moaned. And I have I'll be honest, a few friends in the music business who that's what they did. They sat around and moaned during that whole thing and did not prosper subsequently, right? Moaning doesn't pay a cent, just get on living life, right? Get busy living or you get busy dying. And that's what this song's about. That's really what it is. It's more profound than just the you know, pretty ham-fisted innuendo that's in here. At least I hope so. So we continue with these lead vocals, and of course, damn right. Any opportunity to use my falsetto here.
Got to pay the rent. Money, 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 money. Moaning doesn't pay a cent. Damn right.
All right, so we got that. Good. And I'm thinking, theme from Shaft. So of course, what do I have to do? And some people have gotten back to me like, "Oh, was that a Zappa thing?" I'm like, "No, this was theme from Shaft for sure." That's what I was thinking. So we get the Isaac Hayes sort of voice here.
Bonin
All night long.
got to pay the rent. Money, 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 money. Moaning
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
doesn't pay a cent. Damn right.
Motherfucker.
That's reminiscent of trombone lessons with the great Ian McDougall. Curse words interrupted by some trombone playing. I learned so much from that wonderful, wonderful man. Shout out to Ian. If you haven't listened to Ian McDougall's trombone playing or compositions, check them out. As great an artist as there's ever been on the trombone. And I would say arguably in music. All right, so now we got the vocal thing. Now, okay, we do this for a while, we repeat it. I need a bridge. Go to the 4 chord. And this is showing off some harmonic fireworks. So we're gonna go to B flat. We're gonna have a nice transition into that.
Gimme, 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 gimme. Gimme, 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 gimme that trombone.
Slide.
Right, give me that trombone, slide trombone. So now the backing vocals take the lead a little bit. We're on the most obvious modulation here, going to the 4 chord to B flat, switching to fingerstyle bass here to give it a little variety, changing the drum feel to like that offbeat open hi-hat thing, right? Which is so cool. It's so 70s. That's where I'm coming from. I love the 70s. And then we got some little harmonic pyrotechnics here. We've got a descending whole step scale in the bass line. And then harmonized above that, we have sus 4 chords, but voiced in perfect fourths. So if I solo just the trombones here, let's do a little bit of work here. Let's get rid of these and let's get all the trombones going on here. That's good. So they're just voiced all in fourths. We call that a quartal voicing. And then I've got the vocals doing that too, right? And a little bit of a low register sub bass thing.
Yeah.
The trombones on the off 16th note and the vocals on the beat there, which is great. Let's see, we got more of the backing vocals.
Gimme that trombone.
Nasty trombone.
Going to D flat 7 there, right? Going to the flat 6, little modal interchange, and then
Gimme the ball.
C7 flat 9, again, a little modal interchange, implying the minor, even though I go to sort of the dominant or the major. And then we're into the trombone solos. This first one's just kind of a little bit lyrical and contained for a funky solo because I want to leave room to grow. Again, I did quite a few takes of this. You can see I did a comp here. I think I like the first part of the solo, but wanted a different transition into the end. So here we go. All right, cool. First solo. So at this point, I want initially I had a guitar solo in mind. In fact, it's still a marker for a guitar solo. I was going to bring in a session guitarist, but this is such a trombone centric thing. I just wanted to keep it trombone. So I decided to go electric trombone here. Now, I want to shout out some very special people at Sea Moon FX. I think they're based in New York. They make this effect pedal called the Funk Machine, which is like this Brecker Brothers sort of envelope filter with a subharmonic. It's hands down my favorite effect pedal to use live or in the studio on trombone. I think my wife bought it for me as a birthday present years ago. No sponsorship, or a year ago. No sponsorship involved at all. And it just sounds great on trombone. I'm going to post my my settings for the pedal just here. I'll post an image up so you can see what they are. Um, playing around with it to find your own personal sound, because this really is this pedal is like an instrument in itself, and you'll have a listen and hear how that works out. Right. Okay. So we got that funky solo, and of course we've changed the rhythm feel totally. Right. We've changed the drums, the bass, everything like that, just to propel this forward a little bit. Right. Okay. And then we're back into another bridge.
Gimme that trombone.
Same stuff as before, and really, so we got different lyrics here at the end, but it's a lot of the same sort of production, the same sort of thing here happening. Right. We've got that outro, which I played for you already, right? And of course, there's only one way to end this.
Bonin.
Bass trombone pedal laugh. Like I said, you got it. You might as well use it. Okay. At this point, this is pretty close to the final mix, or the final project anyway. The last thing I kind of recorded, musically speaking, was the organ. Because you can hear that there's some fun stuff going on, but there's maybe a lack of harmonic context, and there's still some holes that need to be filled, right? So when you listen to the arrangement without the organ, and then you listen to it with, let's maybe start at one of these verses.
Bonin.
So
All night long.
Got to pay the rent. Money, 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 money. Moaning.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Doesn't pay a cent.
Motherfucker,
And then let's add the organ.
Bonin.
throw that bone.
Got to play the funk. Honey, 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 honey. Flowing.
Oh, yeah.
Swimming or I'm sunk.
Motherfucker,
Gimme that trombone.
slide trombone.
So again, just some very minimal stuff in the background there that's really filling out that high end of the the frequency spectrum, and just creating more interest in the background, really sort of causing the rhythm section to gel like a unit, ein Gestalt, as they say in German. The very last thing I recorded was this. Would have been this count off, because I was thinking about the YouTube video. Like, okay, yeah, this is a good way to get it started. Here's a quick.
1, 2, 3.
Easy. And then it's just into the mixing. In terms of the mix, it's very simple. If I show you, organ panned a little bit. You can see the guitar panning left and right a little bit there. Slap bass right up the middle, drums right up the middle. Trombones fanned out a little bit, vocals fanned out, all that kind of stuff. Pretty simple in terms of the panning. A little compression, a little bit of EQ on the vocals. Like I use different EQ on, just about every vocal track, and especially, to get the bass vocal, the Isaac Hayes kind of vocal to really pop. I definitely put some lower EQ, different reverbs on everything, different mic models from this universal audio sphere system I'm using, all kinds of different stuff, just to kind of get things when you're doing overdubs to sound a little more organic and less sterile. Yeah, I mean, and so you can see this is pretty much the mix. I did a quickie mastering job on this with the this I am pusher plugin from Waves, I think. And it's just my quickie mastering tool for YouTube videos, but I like the results so much that I just did that. If I wanted to go more in depth with the mastering, I would talk to my good friend Miles Hill, who's an absolute wizard. But just for this single, I was pretty happy with the results of that. So um, there you go. There's my little mix overview. I got to head off to a gig now. Oh, you can see my mix bus is up here, right? So I can all the lead vocals, all the background vocals, the trombone section, the rhythm section go into these different buses, so I can apply different reverb and compression to the whole, the whole group of those instead of just the individual tracks, right? But yeah, I gotta head off to a gig in a bit. But I hope y'all enjoyed this sort of basic quickie walkthrough of my mix for Bonin. I actually had a lot of fun doing this overview. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about how this came together, or there's any questions I didn't answer, or anything you're curious about this creative process. Or if you think I messed this up and there's a better way I could have gone about it, yeah, let me know for sure. I'm still learning every day, and yeah, and enjoy. Have yourselves a good one.